Camilla is no longer the shadow of a scandalous affair. Today she stands as queen consort, a title official in name, yet never quite enough to silence the quiet hunger for power that still smolders within her. She doesn't want to linger behind the throne. She wants to step forward into decision-making rooms, into the vaults of guarded secrets once reserved for the heirs. And in her mind, after all she has sacrificed, she believes she's earned that right. But the monarchy does not run on sentiment, and the one standing in her way is none other than Princess Anne. Anne does not seek attention. She doesn't need the spotlight to be heard. She is the embodiment of tradition, disciplined, unwavering, and fiercely loyal to the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, in the quiet codes that have held the crown steady for generations. To Anne, Camilla is an interloper, an outsider reaching for something that has never passed through royal blood. Camilla advances from behind closed doors. Anne blocks her in silence. No threats, no headlines. Just confidential briefings, quietly pulled proposals, quietly stalled, and doors that never open. What unfolds is not a spectacle, but a cold, deliberate chess match, each move laced with calculation, each silence a counterstrike. One woman moves forward, driven by a deep need for recognition. The other holds the line, guarding a legacy she believes must not be rewritten. But in the end, only one of them will control how this story is told. Clarence House, a late autumn afternoon in 2025, as icy winds from the River Thames sweep through London's streets, slipping through the ancient walls of the British royal family. In the opulent drawing room, the air retains its timeless elegance, cream linen tablecloths, gold-rimmed bone china teacups glinting under crystal chandeliers, and Victoria sponge cakes neatly arranged on silver trays, a subtle reminder of traditions that never fade. But beneath this veneer of tranquility, a political storm is quietly brewing, poised to shake the seemingly unassailable foundations of the monarchy. Camilla, Queen Consort, a title newly hers, yet still the focus of wary glances and unrelenting whispers, sits at the head of the long table, her posture commanding yet understated. The pearl brooch on her chest gleams, catching the soft golden light, a silent proclamation of her position. Her eyes, sharp and full of intent, scan the faces in the room, courtiers, advisors, the gatekeepers of royal power. Today, she isn't here merely to sip tea. Today, she's here to challenge the unwritten boundaries of the court. Her voice rises gentle but weighted with undeniable authority. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's time my role is expanded appropriately to support His Majesty in strategic decisions. A hush falls over the room, as if the air itself has been sucked out in an instant. Eyes dart in quick exchanges, brows furrow discreetly. Sir James Milford, first secretary to the royal household, a seasoned man with silver hair and eyes that never betray emotion, leans slightly forward. With over 3 decades navigating the corridors of power, he chooses his words as carefully as a tightrope walker. Does Your Majesty mean access to internal, strategic briefings? Camilla nods faintly, her lips curling into a smile, not warm but sharp as a thin blade. I simply wish to contribute more, she says, her tone even but laden with meaning. The king has not fully recovered from these challenging months, and I believe support from me, his closest confidant, is reasonable. Don't you agree? Her words, though, cloaked in courtesy, are a ticking time bomb. Camilla isn't merely requesting a larger role, she's demanding real power access to the monarchy's core secrets, from defense strategies to diplomatic agreements with the Commonwealth. A few courtiers nod, but their nods are cautious, as if treading on thin ice. This time, Camilla isn't speaking as the wife standing behind Charles, but as someone testing her grip on the monarchy's political helm, a bold, risky move. A few seats away, Princess Anne, her hair neatly pinned, her navy coat exuding deliberate simplicity, says nothing. She lifts her teacup to her lips, her movements slow, but her piercing eyes never leave Camilla's face for a second. No one notices, but her grip on the cup tightens, her knuckles whitening. Anne isn't surprised. She's been expecting this moment since the day Camilla was crowned queen consort during the coronation, under the public's skeptical gaze and Anne's own silent scrutiny. Anne knows well a title is never enough for someone like Camilla. That woman wants more, not just jewels, not just the spotlight, but true power, the kind only gained by crossing the monarchy's unwritten boundaries. But those boundaries aren't easily breached. They've been built over centuries, guarded by people like Anne, those loyal not just to the throne, but to the legacy of those who sacrificed to keep it strong, like Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Diana. The tea party ends with outward civility, polite farewells, and forced smiles. But as the courtiers file out, Anne lingers, her gaze sweeping the now empty room, as if memorizing every detail of the drama that just unfolded. Camilla has openly challenged the rules, and Anne knows this isn't just a proposal, it's a declaration of war. Robert she calls to Captain Robert Hensley, her loyal aide who served under the Queen Mother, her voice low but sharp as a blade. Robert steps forward, his eyes alert. He knows when Anne uses this tone, a battle has begun. Camilla has made her first move. Anne says, her voice quiet, carrying a hint of ice. I want to know who's helping her, who drafted this proposal, who's lobbying for its approval, and whether it's reached Charles yet. I want every detail, every name. Robert nods without hesitation. I'll investigate immediately, Your Highness, he replies, his tone firm. He understands Anne doesn't just want the proposal's details, she wants the entire network backing Camilla, from shadowy advisors to potential allies outside the palace. Anne turns to Lady Violet, her lady-in-waiting and former private secretary, to Queen Elizabeth II, a petite woman with a memory as sharp as a living encyclopedia. Violet, she says, her voice steady but commanding, find the 2005 files, the memorandum between Prime Minister Blair and the royal household regarding the princess consort title. I need the original, not the abridged version. Every word, every clause. Yes, Your Highness, Violet responds, her voice calm, but her eyes betraying understanding. She knows Anne never requests anything without purpose, and this purpose is surely to build a steel wall against Camilla's ambitions. Before leaving the room, Anne pauses by the large window where the crimson sunset filters through stained glass, casting patterns of light and shadow on the wooden floor. She stands silently, hands clasped behind her back. Her voice, soft but chilling, rises as an unspoken declaration of war. We can't stop others from dreaming of power, but we can make them understand the price is steeper than they imagine. The velvet curtains sway in the gentle breeze. Outside, London's sky sinks into darkness, and the battle within the royal court officially begins, not with a roar, but with the silence of a woman who doesn't need to speak loudly to make the kingdom listen. A question hangs in the air like a prophecy. Can Camilla, with her unquenchable ambition, overcome the monarchy's invisible barriers to seize true power? Or will Anne, the steadfast guardian of legacy, determine the throne's fate, holding tight to the secrets Camilla craves? Late at night in Windsor Castle, as its cold stone corridors fall silent, Princess Anne stands alone in the ancient library. The dim light from a brass desk lamp illuminates a sealed dossier marked 2005, restricted in faded black ink. This is the secret agreement between the royal household and the British government, stating that Camilla, then still Charles's mistress in the shadows, would hold only the title of princess consort, a move to appease a public still grieving Diana, Princess of Wales. Anne opens the dossier, her fingers tracing the yellowed pages. She remembers the day the agreement was announced, a dreary afternoon, not unlike today. In a private meeting at Buckingham Palace, she had looked Charles in the eye, her voice low but cutting. Are you sure, Charles? This isn't just about a title. It's about the public's trust. Charles, then Prince of Wales, had looked away, his gaze, evasive like a boy caught in a misstep. It was the first time Anne sensed her brother's weakness, not as a future king, but as a man torn between love and duty. Anne said no more, but from that moment she noted Camilla wasn't just a woman in Charles's life. She was a variable, a potential threat to the monarchy's legacy. When Camilla was named Queen Consort after Charles's coronation, Anne remained silent. She didn't object, didn't argue, but her eyes, cold and unyielding, said everything. To Anne, Camilla's ascension wasn't just a change in title. It was a betrayal of the promise to the public, an encroachment on Diana's honor. A woman who wasn't just her sister-in-law, but a symbol of loyalty to the monarchy paid for with her life. Anne closes the dossier, her gaze drifting to the ancient bookshelves where centuries of royal chronicles are preserved. She knows in this world power is never given freely. It's built with blood time and unwavering loyalty. And Anne, the woman who never boasts, never seeks the spotlight, has all of those in spades. Meanwhile, at Burke Hall, in a private study adorned with oak paneling and Scottish landscape paintings, Camilla sits alone. Before her is a small, intricately carved wooden box containing handwritten letters from Charles spanning 15 years. Promises of a future, together words of comfort during the days she was branded the other woman, and dreams of a day she'd stand beside him, not just as a lover but as a queen. Camilla opens a letter, Charles' slanted script glowing under the desk lamp. "You deserve everything, Camilla," he wrote. "One day the world will understand." She smiles, but the smile carries a trace of bitterness. The world may not yet understand, but she's paid enough enduring public scorn, staying silent, through vicious tabloids, sacrificing her privacy to stand by Charles. Now is the time to claim her due, not just a title, but real power, the power to shape the monarchy's future. But Camilla forgets one thing: the monarchy isn't a place where power is granted through love or sacrifice. It's a labyrinth of tradition, secrets, and unwritten rules. And in that labyrinth, Anne isn't just a player, she holds the map. Camilla folds the letter, placing it back in the box, her eyes flashing with resolve. "They think I'll be content with a crown and tea parties," she whispers to herself. "But I didn't come here to be a backdrop. I came to change the game." Outside, rain begins to fall, heavy drops pattering against the window. In the darkness of two palaces, two women, two forces prepare for an unrelenting battle. One defends legacy, the other seeks power, and between them stands a king, a man on the throne, but perhaps not the one truly in control. Early morning in London, as pale dawn light filters through thick fog, the Home Office receives an unexpected directive from the Royal Ceremonial Office. The document is brief, just a few lines, but sharp as a blade. Suspend review of all requests for Level 1 archive access from Queen Camilla's office, including strategic documents related to the Commonwealth, until further notice. No explanation, no hint of hesitation. At the bottom, Princess Anne's signature, bold, decisive, ensures no clerk dares question it. In the monarchy's corridors of power, Anne's name isn't just a symbol of tradition, it's a warning: cross her at your peril. Just days earlier, Camilla had formally submitted a bold proposal to the Ceremonial Office requesting access to Level 1 documents, classified files containing defense strategies, foreign policy, and plans to strengthen the monarchy's position in the post-Brexit Commonwealth. Among them, the Commonwealth Strategy 2025 was key, critical not only for meetings with senior advisors, but also as a chance for Camilla to prove her worth as Queen Consort. Per protocol, the proposal passed through three offices: Ceremonial, Home, and Royal Secretariat for review before reaching King Charles for approval. But Anne, with her discreet intelligence network and invisible authority, uncovered it and acted before it could reach Charles. In her private office at Clarence House, Camilla sits motionless, eyes fixed on her computer screen. An email has just arrived informing her that the Commonwealth Strategy 2025 document, requested to prepare for a critical meeting with senior advisors next week, has been removed from the agenda she was invited to attend. No explanation, no courtesy call, just silence, and that silence feels like an invisible slap to her ambitions. She grips her Mont Blanc pen, knuckles whitening. The elegant room with its landscape paintings and crackling fireplace suddenly feels stifling. Camilla's silence is more terrifying than any outburst. Her eyes, usually confident and sharp, now burn with suppressed fury. She knows this isn't the administrative glitch someone might want her to believe. This is a direct strike, and the hand behind it is none other than Princess Anne, who blocked her access to Level 1 documents, ensuring the Commonwealth file was pulled from her grasp as a consequence. Camilla rises, stepping to the window overlooking the fog-shrouded garden. She calls Charles, her voice straining to stay calm, but betraying tension. "Charles, why was the Commonwealth document pulled from my agenda? I need it for next week's meeting. Who's behind this?" On the other end, Charles responds with unease, his voice faltering like a man caught in a crossfire. "It's probably just an administrative glitch. Camilla, I'll look into it." Camilla repeats, her tone even but icy, as if testing him. An administrative glitch. She stares into the void ahead as if Charles were standing there. "I don't think so, Charles. And you know it." She hangs up without waiting for a reply. Camilla isn't naive. She knows Charles avoids confrontation, not with her, and certainly not with Anne. But his evasion only fuels the fire within her. She returns to her desk, summoning her two closest advisors, Lady Margaret Voss, a former journalist with extensive Westminster connections, and Sir Henry Lisle, a lawyer who's worked for aristocratic families. I want to know who leaked the information. Camilla orders, her voice low but commanding. My proposal was submitted, but it was blocked before reaching Charles. I suspect someone tipped off Princess Anne. Review the entire information chain from the ceremonial office to the home office. I want to know every person involved, every step they took. Lady Voss nods, but her eyes betray concern. Your Majesty, our network. It's still new. Princess Anne has built loyalty over decades. Finding a traitor, if there is one, won't be easy. Camilla offers a faint smile, but it doesn't reach her eyes. I don't need easy, Margaret. I need results. If Anne wants to play this game, I'll show her I'm not easily sidelined. Meanwhile, in her private office at Gatcombe Park, Princess Anne sits at an oak desk, the light from a desk lamp illuminating her stern face. Captain Robert Hensley, her loyal aide with salt and pepper hair and a rigid posture, enters, holding a thin dossier. Your Highness, Hensley reports, his voice steady, the Queen Consort's request for Level 1 archive access, including the Commonwealth Strategy 2025 document, passed through 3 offices, Ceremonial Home, and Royal Secretariat as per protocol. But I ensured it was blocked at the Ceremonial Office as you instructed. There's no sign of formal approval from His Majesty, and I believe it will never reach him. Anne nods, her expression unchanged, as if everything is as expected. Good, she says, her voice low but sharp. Ensure all similar requests from Camilla are blocked unless they bear my signature. No Level 1 document leaves the archives without my review. Hensley hesitates for a moment, then asks, his voice softer. What if the Queen Consort complains directly to His Majesty? Your Highness, Anne offers a faint smile, devoid of warmth. Let her try, Robert. Charles never likes confrontation. If she pushes him, he'll find a way to sidestep as always. But we cannot let Camilla access documents like the Commonwealth Strategy. If she gets them, she'll use them to build influence, and that would disrupt the balance we've maintained for years. She rises, stepping to the bookshelf where royal chronicles are neatly arranged. Camilla wants power, she says almost to herself. But she doesn't understand. Power isn't about sitting in the chair. It's about knowing who holds the chair and who can make it wobble. Hensley nods, but a chill runs through him. Anne is not easily defeated, and Camilla, however powerful, is entering a game whose rules she doesn't fully grasp. But Camilla isn't one to give up, and Anne's block, though effective, is merely the opening shot in a long war ahead. The National Commemoration Service unfolds with solemnity at Westminster Abbey under London's grey skies. Princess Anne arrives first in her familiar navy coat, the same one she wore at Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Simple, composed, it radiates an unmistakable aura, the steadfastness of a woman who's devoted her life to the monarchy. The crowd claps lightly as she walks, her gaze sweeping over them, not arrogant, not seeking attention, but commanding an unspoken strength. Camilla arrives next in a bespoke Dior design, deep emerald green, with pearls gleaming at her neck and ears. She moves with the confidence of a queen, her smile perfect, her eyes fixed forward. But in the brief moment she passes Anne, their eyes meet for just a second, but enough for both to know this isn't merely a ceremony. It's a stage, and the public is watching every move. The press seizes the moment. The next morning, headlines scream, contrasting styles, tradition or majesty. The Telegraph praises Anne's meaningful simplicity, while the Sun runs a lengthy piece analyzing Camilla's outfit, calling it a statement of splendor. Online forums buzz with debate. Some laud Camilla for bringing a new breath to the monarchy, but many side with Anne, praising her for upholding the royal spirit, unpretentious, needing no proof. Anne doesn't respond to the press. She rarely does. But weeks later, in a rare BBC interview about the monarchy's role in modern times, she's asked, "What does Your Highness think of a royal's duty to represent tradition?" Anne looks directly into the camera, her eyes sharp but her voice almost casual. "We don't dress to be noticed. We dress so as not to overshadow duty." The brief remark spreads like wildfire on social media. Without naming names or direct criticism, the kingdom knows who she means. On Twitter, your royal duty trends for 48 hours with comments like, "Princess Anne just schooled the world on class without flaunting it." Camilla reads the interview in the Times the next morning at the breakfast table in Birkhall. She folds the paper, setting it down with a slow, almost ceremonial motion. The smile on her lips holds no warmth, only icy resolve. She thinks she can beat me with silence. she whispers to herself, eyes fixed on the burning fireplace. But silence isn't everything. She rises, adjusting her robe, and calls Lady Voss. "Margaret, I want a media plan. Not to counter Anne, not yet. But I want the public to see I'm more than a shadow. I want them to see a queen." Lady Voss on the other end scribbles quickly. "Your Majesty, we could arrange a charity event or a speech on education, something relatable to the public." Camilla nods, though no one sees. "Good, but make it big. I want the world to know I'm not just here to wear a crown. I'm here to make a difference." Outside, the rain continues, heavy drops striking the window. In the palace's shadows, the battle between the two women intensifies, not just in the corridors of power, but in the public's eyes, those who will decide the true victor in this chess game. The tension between Camilla and Princess Anne has reached a breaking point, like a taut violin string waiting for a single touch to snap. Clarence House's corridors, usually filled with polite whispers and soft footsteps, now feel heavier, as if the air itself senses the storm brewing. Charles the King, with a crown but a wavering heart, has no choice but to intervene. He invites Camilla and Anne to a private meeting in a small drawing room at Clarence House, hoping to broker peace before the press catches wind of a scandal and turns it into a media maelstrom. The room, with its crackling fireplace and ancient oak-paneled walls, becomes an invisible battlefield. Light from silver candelabras on the dining table reflects off ancestral portraits, as if past spirits silently observe. Camilla sits upright at one end, hands clasped on her lap, her deep blue silk dress accentuating her authority. But her eyes, sharp blazing, reveal an uncontainable fire. Opposite her, Princess Anne sits at ease, legs crossed, her plain wool coat unassuming, but her gaze razor sharp. Charles in the middle looks like a man trapped between two volcanoes, his hands twisting together, his face betraying unease. Camilla speaks first, her voice calm but resolute, as if each word was rehearsed. "I am the king's wife, Charles. I have a right to know what's happening in the government. If I'm not trusted, what does the title of queen consort mean?" Her words ring out, not loud but piercing, like an arrow aimed at the room's heart. A heavy silence falls, broken only by the fire's crackle. Anne doesn't stir, her eyes locked on Camilla, her lips curling into a faint, almost imperceptible line. She responds, her voice soft but icy, each word honed. "You are the king's wife, Camilla, not the heir to the throne, and no one grants power just because of marriage." Anne's reply is a clean cut, sharp and unrelenting. Camilla's hands tighten, her nails digging into her palms through thin silk gloves. She glances at Charles, her eyes a plea, a challenge. "Say something, Charles. Stand with me." But Charles only stares at the table, his hands twisting tighter, as if wishing to vanish from the room. His silence, more than any words, is a dagger to Camilla's heart. The room sinks into a stifling atmosphere, as if the air has been drained. Camilla struggles to maintain composure, but her lips press tight, her eyes flashing with suppressed anger. Anne, conversely, remains calm, like a chess player awaiting her opponent's misstep. The meeting drags on for a few more minutes with brief, polite, but barbed exchanges, but no one gets what they want. Finally, Camilla rises first, clutching her silk gloves, saying nothing. She leaves the room, her heels clicking on the wooden floor like small hammer strikes. Anne stays, her gaze following Camilla's retreating figure until the door closes. Then she turns to Charles, not accusing, not scolding, just shaking her head slightly like a disappointed sister. "You're letting others rewrite Diana's legacy," she says, her voice low, almost a whisper. "And mothers." Charles doesn't reply. He only looks out the window, where rain begins to fall, streaking the glass. His eyes are empty, as if searching for an answer he knows won't come. Anne rises, adjusts her coat, and leaves, leaving Charles alone in the cold room, the fire still burning, but unable to warm his heart. After the tense meeting at Clarence House, Camilla returns to Birkhall, her heart smoldering like a hidden ember. Charles's silence, Anne's coldness, and the feeling of being restrained by her own crown leave her restless. The failure with the Commonwealth document still stings, and now she resolves to make a bolder move to assert her position. In her private study, Camilla drafts a formal letter to the Home Secretary requesting access to a classified dossier named Windsor, Scotland, a collection of post-Brexit defense strategies seen as the key to understanding the monarchy's political moves on the global stage. This isn't a random request. Camilla believes that securing this dossier will not only prove her worth to senior advisors, but also send a clear message to Anne she's not easily sidelined. The letter is crafted carefully with polite but firm language and sent through a private channel she hopes will evade Anne's watchful eyes. Camilla waits each passing day, testing her patience. She envisions herself entering the meeting room, holding the Windsor, Scotland dossier, the advisor's gazes shifting from doubt to respect. She'd be more than queen consort, she'd be a force undeniable. But the response arrives on a dreary morning in a plain white envelope bearing the Home Office seal. Camilla opens it, her heart racing. The letter is brief, just a few lines. The request does not align with traditional protocols. Denied per recommendation from the ceremonial office. At the bottom, Princess Anne's signature, bold, decisive, like a dagger to her ambitions. Camilla rereads it, each word a cut. Then, in a rare moment of lost control, she smashes a crystal glass on the table. The sharp shatter echoes in the silent room, shards scattering on the wooden floor like fragments of her hopes. "Anne!" She whispers, her voice trembling with rage. She thinks she can block me forever. She's wrong. She calls an urgent meeting with her two trusted advisors in the study still faintly scented with broken glass. "Anne is making a fool of me," Camilla says, her voice low, but sharp as a blade, her eyes blazing. "She blocks me at every turn, from the Commonwealth documents to Windsor, Scotland. We can't keep confronting her network head-on. I need a new strategy, a media campaign to win public support. If I can't hold the documents, I'll make the kingdom see I'm more worthy of the throne than anyone." Lady Voss, with a journalist's keen instincts, nods, her eyes lighting up. "Your Majesty, a major charity event, or a speech on education, or the environment could reshape your image. We could host a public ceremony, invite the press and Commonwealth leaders. It would make it hard for Princess Anne to oppose publicly without losing public favor." Camilla nods, her eyes glinting with calculation. "Good. Prepare a plan, Margaret, but make it grand enough that Anne can't ignore it. I want the public to see I'm not just Charles's shadow, but a true queen. Sir Henry Lisle, ever cautious, speaks up, Your Majesty, a public campaign could work, but we must be careful. Princess Anne wields significant influence with traditional media, and she could turn any misstep to her advantage." Camilla offers a faint smile, her eyes gleaming with mystery. "Let her try, Henry. If Anne wants to keep me in the dark, I'll make the spotlight shine on me. And when it does, she'll face the world, not just me." She rises, stepping to the fireplace, the flames reflecting in her eyes. "Anne wants to keep me in the shadows," she says, her voice low, but laden with meaning. "But I'll find the light, even if I have to burn this palace down." But Camilla doesn't know Anne is steps ahead. Long ago, Anne ensured all sensitive royal information passed through those absolutely loyal to her, from junior clerks to the keepers of secret archives. Every move Camilla makes, however discreet, is reported to Anne, not through letters or emails, but through whispered conversations in the palace's hidden corners. At Gatcombe Park, Anne receives a report from Lady Violet on a foggy morning. Violet, her voice steady and sharp, says, "Your Highness the Queen Consort requested access to Windsor, Scotland through a private channel, but it was blocked at the ceremonial office as you instructed. However, she's planning a public campaign, likely a major event, to gain public support." Anne sips her tea, her gaze fixed on the fog-covered garden. She doesn't smile, doesn't gloat. She only says, her voice low and certain, she doesn't understand Violet. "Power isn't in titles or spotlights. It's in the people who trust you and those willing to keep secrets for you." Violet nods, but a shiver runs through her. Anne isn't just a guardian of tradition, she's a strategist, a chess player who never reveals her strongest piece. And Camilla, however clever and determined, is facing an opponent she doesn't fully comprehend. Meanwhile, at Burke Hall, Camilla stands by the window, watching the relentless rain. She knows she's lost a battle, but the war isn't over. If Anne wants to play secrets, she whispers to herself, "I'll show her I can play too. And this time, I'll surprise her." Her eyes flash with renewed resolve, like someone who's just found a new weapon, one even Anne can't anticipate. The tension within the British royal family has crossed the threshold of concealment. Buckingham Palace's grand corridors, once echoing with laughter and polite greetings, now carry anxious whispers. In a secluded corner, One of Charles's close advisors murmurs to a colleague, "If the Queen Consort and Princess Anne clash publicly, the press will tear us apart. This isn't just a family matter, it's a storm that could shake the throne." But Princess Anne, with her legendary sharpness and resolve, has no intention of taking the stage. She doesn't need public spats or fiery speeches. Instead, she wields her influence like a chess grandmaster, controlling the flow of royal information with precision and ruthlessness. Every move Camilla makes, however subtle, is thwarted before it can take shape, as if Anne can see 3 moves ahead. Camilla, in growing desperation, resolves to build her own network to break the deadlock. She realizes her current allies, new advisors, fledgling connections can't match the loyalty Anne has cultivated over half a century. On a stormy evening at Birkhall, Camilla summons Harold Morton, a former secretary to Prince Andrew, a gaunt man with sharp eyes and a controversial past. Morton once had deep ties to policy advisors under Queen Elizabeth II, and Camilla hopes he's the key to accessing the secrets Anne guards. Harold Camilla says, her voice low but commanding, as they sit in a discreet study lit only by the fireplace's glow. "I need you to find a way to access the Windsor, Scotland dossier. Anne has blocked every path, but I know you have connections she doesn't control. Get it to me, and you'll see the value of standing on the right side." Harold nods, his expression neutral, but inside a silent conflict rages. Camilla doesn't know Harold served under Anne for 12 years from his days as a young secretary at Clarence House. His loyalty to Anne isn't something money or promises of power can sway, but he's wise enough not to refuse Camilla outright. "I'll look into it, Your Majesty," he replies, his voice even with a faint, barely noticeable smile. Days later, in a small tea house on London's outskirts where dim oil lamps create an almost secretive ambiance, Harold meets Princess Anne. The tea house is empty save for the patter of rain on the windows and the faint scent of fresh scones. Anne sits in a secluded corner in a simple sweater, but her presence shrinks the room around her. "The Queen Consort summoned me," Harold says, his voice steady without hesitation. "She wants me to access the Windsor, Scotland dossier. She believes I can bypass the ceremonial office's barriers." Anne raises an eyebrow, a small gesture that tells Harold she's absorbing every word. "And what did you tell her?" she asks, her voice low but sharp as a blade. "I told her I'd look into it," Harold replies, a faint smile crossing his lips, his eyes gleaming with unmistakable loyalty. "But I thought Your Highness should know first." Anne nods her gaze, assessing him anew. "Thank you, Harold," she says, her voice light but meaningful. "Keep doing as she expects, but ensure she gets nothing but worthless papers. The Windsor, Scotland documents must never leave the archives, and if Camilla receives anything, it must be worth less than a penny." Harold bows his head, saying no more. He knows he's walking a dangerous line, but his loyalty to Anne, who taught him to survive the monarchy's power maze, is unshakable. As he steps out into the cold rain, he feels the weight of the chess game he's part of. Meanwhile, Camilla clings to hope that Harold will deliver a breakthrough. She doesn't know every move she makes has been anticipated and neutralized by Anne, like prey caught in a web she can't see. After weeks of tension, pressure from advisors, and the threat of leaks to the press force Charles to act. On a gloomy morning at Buckingham Palace, he convenes an urgent meeting with senior secretaries and issues an order Camilla will attend ceremonial briefings where she can appear as Queen Consort, but all Level 1 strategic documents, including classified records on governance, defense, and intelligence, will be restricted to direct bloodline members. The decision, though couched in diplomatic language, is a blow to Camilla's ambitions. She accepts it outwardly with perfect smiles and polite remarks at subsequent briefings, but inside her ambition now burns with sharp bitterness. The media campaign she pinned hopes on, meticulously planned by Lady Voss with a grand charity event in London, is stopped before it can begin. A sudden announcement from the ceremonial office bearing Princess Anne's signature cancels the event, citing incompatibility with the royal schedule. The press, instead of portraying Camilla as a devoted queen, is flooded with articles praising Anne's simplicity and loyalty, likely orchestrated by her trusted allies. The public still views Camilla through a lens of suspicion, and this failure before it even started is a slap to her ambitions. Worse news from Sir Henry Lisle pours fuel on her bitterness. Harold Morton, whom Camilla banked on to bypass Anne's network, not only failed to access the Windsor, Scotland dossier, but clearly betrayed her. A discreet source reveals Morton met Anne at a suburban tea house shortly after Camilla's summons, and the documents he delivered were a worthless collection of outdated data and irrelevant notes. Morton, loyal to Anne after 12 years of service, reported every plan of Camilla's, turning her efforts into a game where Anne is always a step ahead. One evening in her private library at Burke Hall, as rain falls relentlessly outside, Camilla sits alone at her desk. Before her is a thin dossier from Morton in a plain white envelope, handwritten with requested information on Windsor, Scotland. Camilla opens it, her hands trembling slightly, her heart racing with hope that it holds a clue, a secret to shift the game. But as she flips through pages of obsolete figures and useless notes, her heart feels crushed by bitterness. Morton didn't just fail, he betrayed her. And through him, Anne sent a clear message: every path to power lies in her hands. Camilla grips the paper knuckles, whitening her eyes, burning with a mix of pain and fury. The bitterness surges like a wave, not just from Morton's betrayal, but from the cascade of failures Anne has dealt her, from the Commonwealth documents withdrawal to Windsor, Scotland being blocked, and now the charity event canceled before it could shine. Every move she makes is anticipated, every plan crushed in its infancy. And she whispers, her voice trembling with rage. She doesn't just lock the doors, she owns this palace. But even in her anger, Camilla doesn't succumb to despair. She rises, tossing the dossier into the fireplace, watching the flames devour the worthless pages. If I can't break Anne's wall with force, I'll dig a path beneath her feet, she says to herself, her eyes glinting with icy resolve. She thinks of someone, a disgraced former aide from Queen Elizabeth II's era, sidelined by Anne years ago over a disagreement. This person, harboring years of resentment, might hold secrets Anne can't control, not in archives, but in untold stories. Anne may have won this round with her unmatched loyalty network and unrivaled sharpness. But Camilla isn't one to give up. The bitterness only sharpens her resolve, like a blade honed by defeat. She knows power isn't just in documents or titles, it's in catching your opponent off guard. And she'll find a new weapon, a secret, an ally, a story that even Anne, with all her wisdom, can't foresee. The invisible war between these two powerful women rages on without gunfire or bloodshed, but no less brutal. In the palace's shadows, where secrets are guarded behind velvet curtains, the question lingers. Who truly controls the throne? The one wearing the crown or the one holding the keys to its secrets? Camilla, with her unquenchable fire, is preparing for a final move. And this time she vows to make Anne pay for her arrogance.